All right, evening folks, Phil Gallagher here of Thraben University fame, and tonight we're going to hopefully fit in two leagues with two very different Stompy decks. So I'm going to briefly show both of them and then do a sort of shortened deck tech for Dino Stompy since I've already played this before. So deck one of the evening is going to be another variant on the green Stompy deck, which has got my name Dino Stompy because shifting Ceratops is an absolute baller. We added some extra dinosaurs to the board, for reasons. This is very similar to things that I've played before, but I'm going to try doing without the Karn package. I think the Karn package is worse in the current metagame than it was previously. There's too much Oko running around that turns all of your sweet artifacts into Elks. The second deck that we'll be playing this evening is a crazy one featuring Legacy All-Stars like Phyrexian Dreadnought, Mirror Superior, and Scroll of Fate. The second deck list is one that I got from a Japanese event, and I saw it and I went, this is so crazy that I just have to try it. And hopefully we can play an Eldrazi Mimic and then just 12 someone on turn 2. Really looking forward to trying that out. So that's what's coming later tonight. But let's start with our Dino Stompy. Okay, so I think Karn got worse in our new metagame, mostly because of the amount of Oko that's running around. And so I'm going to try to change my threat base. I'm going to try maxing out on things that deal with +1/+1 counters, because those make way better Elks. So I'm going to play Scavenging Ooze, Mana Gorger Hydra, and Mistcutter Hydra, as well as Tireless Tracker. All 4 of these threats can gain +1/+1 counters, and I think be relatively good. I've been slightly less impressed by Tarmogoyf in the new metagame. There's more removal spells that hit it. There's a little bit more white seeing play than there was previously. And I'm not entirely sure about Scavenging Ooze as a threat in this deck. We only are funneling so many creatures into the graveyard. But part of my thought is I want a little more life gain for the Delver matchups, which is what's going on over here as well. But we're going to try it out. One of the things I do like about this deck is that you can just play basic lands for a couple of turns and then just play out some other threat before playing out your soul lands and having those things sticking around. We are indeed going prehistoric, and I hope it'll go well. So I wanted to try out some other threats. So we're trying out Scavenging Ooze and Mistcutter Hydra tonight. I think Mistcutter Hydra is kind of sweet in that it has some of the same utility that Shifting Ceratops does. The rate per power isn't as good, but it's always coming with haste. It can't be countered. It has protection from Elks. I mean, not real Elks, but protection from being Elked. So I think that's good, but I don't think I can play that many of these. So I think it's a cute one-of that can just, instantly Reality Smasher someone and end the game. I think that's pretty cool. It's going to be real cute with the Carpet of Flowers that I'm playing in the sideboard, if I have my way. But we'll see if we can assemble that combo. So with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and jump into a league here and see how it goes. Super excited to be playing Legacy right now. We're coming off a major GP. All sorts of people have neat ideas. Metagame feels great. There's a lot of variety in what you can play, even if there are, very clearly some best cards, Oko and Dreadhorde Arcanist are very clearly becoming format staples in our current metagame, so that's something to go and keep in mind. And really happy to play with Oko. That is, I'm happy when I'm the one casting the Oko. It's very easy to get buried under that card, though. I think if you're playing a Legacy deck right now, you need to have a plan for Oko. And I think, Veil of Summer is great right now. I think Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast are great right now. And I think threats such as True Name Nemesis, Mirran Crusader, and other things that can't be elked or are resilient to elking also become quite good. And then I'm less fond of threats that cost 3 or more mana and don't have some upside against Oko. So something like Knight of the Reliquary, for example, is really, really awkward right now. Because if you play it and then your opponent plays Oko, it feels bad. If your opponent plays Oko and then you play it, that probably feels worse. Oh yeah, it's RAR time. I'm excited for this. I've been thinking about this deck all day. Like, I was planning on playing the Colorless Stompy deck tonight, and I'm still going to. But, like, I had a little bit of free time at work after I was done with my planning for the day, before my tutoring started. Alright, so this is an interesting hand. I can just play Tarmogoyf on turn 2 into turn 3 Ceratops into turn 4 Ceratops. That is not necessarily the game plan for this deck. But I think that's probably good enough to keep. If my opponent's playing combo, boy, this hand sucks. Hey, Phil, fan of your content. Good luck. Good luck to you, friend. How do you feel about dinosaurs? Future Awispado. I mean, it might be a Latin pronunciation. Awis is bird in Latin. Unclear. And Cherryman, nice to see you here. I don't know if you're still messing around with this archetype, but it's been a lot of fun. Alright, so our opponent might be playing some sort of, like, Noble Bant, Noble Oko deck. We will go ahead and fetch now. Putting a land in the graveyard grows ye old Tarmogoyf. Actually, legitimately do not care about this getting dazed, if that's something that occurs. Force, pitching a Spell Pierce. Yeah, that's fine. We got a green Hymn to Turok there. I'm actually most scared if my opponent is, like, Infect or something like that. And they just play, like, a unblockable blue idiot whose name I am totally blanking on. Oh, that's embarrassing. Nope, that one's lost to the memory banks at the moment. Yeah, but if they play that, I would be sad. My opponent is like a Bant Stoneblade deck. And they play like Brainstorm into a Stoneforge to shuffle and get Batterskull. That could be awkward for me as well. Because I have to trade one... I would have to, like, trade a Shifting Ceratops for a Batterskull Germ. Blighted Agent, there we go. That's what I was looking for. No blocks on the 2/3 Noble Hierarch. Hello, who's? So do I want to take 4 points of damage off this Ancient Tomb, or do I want to lose my City of Traders next turn? I think I'm fine with losing City of Traders to not take 4 damage initially. Yeah, I think that's fine. So opponent fetched Tropical Island off their Misty. Note that they didn't go for some other land. Evening Hellclan, hope all is well. Alright, my opponent is Infect. I am very scared that my death is imminent. Scavenging Ooze also looking less good. So there's an argument to leave back one of these to block an Ink Moth. But I think I'd rather just put them on the 2-turn clock. Because if they have a Berserk, they're probably going to kill me through a blocker anyway. So be it. So what do we have for this? Not a lot. So we can Spyglass and Inkmoth Nexus. We can choke them. I don't think this is a Carpet of Flowers matchup. I could consider Vivian Reed. I think this is not gonna do it, though, right? So, like, the flyer that they have is Inkmoth Nexus, and it's not going to be a flyer or an artifact when I want to activate it. So Scavenging Ooze seems very poor. We don't care. It's not a big enough threat, and we don't care about the life gain here. So I think that's going to be the first thing to go. And then I just need to trim somewhere else. It's possible that this isn't a tireless tracker matchup, and I'm not really going to grind through this. And I rather just want to like lead on powerful permanents. No, we kind of got by the Inkmoth Nexus there. But if they didn't have it, we did have them on a 2-turn clock. Yeah, I am in for this hand. I actually think I will just be... It's kind of a difficult to evaluate hand, because you're left with the question, like, do I cast this Once Upon a Time? Like, what do you imprint on the Chrome Mox? Because you can just Chrome Mox, imprint the Choke, cast Trinisphere, hope to spike a green land for the Ceratops. Or you can cast Once Upon a Time, try to find a green and colorless threat, and use that as a follow-up to Trinisphere. I mean, I almost kind of like casting the Once Upon a Time and using that to inform my decision. The biggest issue with my hand is I don't have the second green for the Ceratops. I'm currently leaning towards pitching the Choke off the Chrome Mox, but we'll see where this gets us. A Mist Cutter Hydra or a Tarmogoyf. Mist Cutter Hydra can actually be like surprisingly big, and it can't be countered. So I can go Chrome Mox, imprint, Choke, Trinisphere, yeah. I think I'm going to go ahead and take this. We're going to imprint the Choke and play Trinisphere just because I think it's the better card if it resolves. That's fine. So now we'll follow up with a 4/4 hasty, uncounterable Mist Cutter Hydra, and then hopefully a Ceratops a turn or two later when we draw a green source. So I need to throw something in front of this Glistener Elf. And I think that something is going to be Mana Gorger Hydra. That's actually very awkward for me. In that makes my blocking considerably worse. So they can just turn that into a 2/3 and beat out my Mana Gorger Hydra. So I think I just have to like let that one go, and if they can like triple Invigorate kill me, or I guess double Invigorate plus Pendlehaven kill me, like they can have it. Yeah, I wonder if I have just become the beatdown and I'm supposed to just cast Hasty Mistcutter Hydra and crash in for 7. I don't love this. We're Hydra Stompy now. Heck with Dino Stompy. I don't think Infect is a deck that we're very well equipped to beat. I don't have like Ballista or anything like that in my main deck to go and like ping off these little threats. And my opponent's threats are just bigger than mine. Hail Hydra. Yeah, something like that. All right, so I want to play my I want to play my Mana Gorger Hydra first to grow it in terms of counters. Yeah, and if you daze this and set yourself back a land drop, I'm okay with that. So that actually grows my Mana Gorger Hydra, and means that they're going down to 1 here. If they accidentally brainstorm, they kill themselves. I will be putting Mana Gorger Hydra in front of this Glistener Elf here. So they will need a Berserk to have trample damage to get through. Oh, well, we just brute forced our way through that one. Definitely like Mana Gorger Hydra as a threat here. Okay, so I don't know if choking them is correct, since they're operating on so few lands, and they're playing, like, Daze, and they're also playing Hierarchs. So I don't think I'm going to do this when I'm on the draw, and I kind of want to play my Carpet of Flowers instead. The 1 or 2 mana that might give me could be super, super relevant to just, like, aggroing out my opponent. So I think I'm going to try that. I mean, Hydra is sweet in Vintage. Alright, my opponent has kept 7. I'm not super impressed by my hand. I don't really have a fast clock. I once upon a time could get a soul land if I got like specifically Ancient Tomb with it. I could turn 1 Spyglass into turn 2 Trinisphere. But if my opponent just drops a dude, I don't feel great about that. I kind of just want something that presents more aggressive pressure than this. I'm going to shift this one. Yes. We'll ship away a Trinisphere and hit done. So I had a roommate who played quite a bit of Managorger Hydra in Vintage, as well as I think tried it in the sideboard of Tin Fens. I think that was something that was shoved in there. Managorger Hydra is very, very sweet. I just don't think there has existed a green Stompy shell prior to a few weeks ago that could effectively play it. Yeah, you can Once Upon a Time. So, like, Sylvan Plug existed, but I'm not necessarily convinced that that was the right fit for it. Whereas here, when we can be a bit more aggressive with, like, Shifting Ceratops and Tarmogoyf and things like that, I think it works better. It checks one of the boxes that you're looking for from, like, Red Prison, which is a threat that can be played off a soul land and one other mana source, which is a problem with Shifting Ceratops. You know, as we saw for part of last game, that card had just kind of sat in my hand since we were on a multiple Ancient Tomb draw. It may be that with the Karns gone, I need to back off the number of Ancient Tombs that are there. So I already dropped from 4 City of Traders down to 3, and it may be that I need to drop down to like 3 Ancient Tombs as well and just play 1 more Forest. Hey, you deserve a BRM and some Shifting Ceratops. They just go together well. Opponent seemingly having a very difficult Once Upon a Time choice here. You're taking a Blighted Agent. So that just may mean that I'm just going to see a Ponder or something here. A Noble Hierarch, yes. Okay. I probably need to take my green source here. Sort of as much as it pains me to do so. I think my Chalice will be medium here. I'm going to try to YOLO out this. Well, if I ignore my Trinisphere, I can just go Chalice on turn 1, followed by turn 2 Shifting Ceratops, and have a chance to race the Blighted Agent. But if they don't have another land drop, I can just play Trinisphere and keep them from casting the Blighted Agent. It's a little bit of an odd spot to be in. The issue with Trinisphereing here is that I can't Ceratops next turn. So in the hopes of Ceratopsing next turn, I'm going to play Chalice. Force, pitch a Ponder. That's fine. I actually didn't really want them to daze. I really didn't want to use the Spirit Guide to stop a Days. Alright, so I know my opponent has Blighted Agent and X in their hand. Yeah, the Trinisphere is much less good when your opponent leads on Noble Hierarch on the play. Blast Zone on 1 would be looking clutch. I probably have to take this block and be super unhappy about it. So I kill my opponent in 4 attacks with Shifting Ceratops. My opponent will kill me with Blighted Agent faster than that, and like the Hierarchs can potentially like get in the way as well. Can't be blocked. So the question is, like, can I take this 3 and still potentially race them in some other way? This is essentially my only chance the entire game to block any infect damage. But if I block this and don't draw another threat, I will just die to the Blighted Agent. This card also... Like, these don't really... This doesn't really matter after the next turn because this is just better. I think my best chance of winning this game is aggroing my opponent out, so I'm not going to block. I think I just need to, like, rip something like another Hydra or something off the top of the deck. Oh, alright. They had an Invigorate. I take 7, I'll take 3 next turn and die. Okay, I was going to lose to that regardless. So, rough. Not in the cards there. So, earlier versions of the deck that I was playing had these 4 Karns, and so on the times where you opened up on multiple Soul Land hands, this was a possibility as well. I also cut Questing Beast from the deck. I'm not 100% sure about that card anymore either. I think it was really good with Ren and 6 around, but it doesn't kill an Oko the turn that it comes into play, which is a touch awkward. So I'm still messing around with the flex slots accordingly. Yep. We are probably playing a turn 1 Trinisphere. I see myself imprinting a Tarmogoyf, so I'm going to go ahead and cast this Once Upon a Time. So I'm going to go Chromox, Imprint, City of Traders, Trinisphere, and then follow it up with multiple cards. I think I'd like Tracker to be one of those cards. Well, it could just be Ceratops. I could just, you know, get rid of my City of Traders at some point, make it so I can't cast a spell, and then just play that uncounterably. But I think Tracker's better. Just, like, keep my City of Traders around for as long as possible. Alright. Well, opponent has conceded to turn 1 Trinisphere. And they were F6'd through my turns. Alright. I mean, maybe combo, maybe not combo. I mean, if you don't have 3 lands in your hand, your chances of beating a Trinisphere are pretty low, right? So a lot of blue decks will keep a, like, 1 or 2 land multiple cantrip hand, and that's totally fine 90% of the time. My opponent might have just known that they were dead to Trinisphere into Tracker. Alright, what am I doing against unknown opponent? How about some chokes? I like choke. Everyone's blue right now. We're gonna ship this one back. I think I'm just playing a fair game here, if I keep this hand. And just, like, pitch my Chrome Mox, just play Tarmogoyf into Ceratops. I don't know for sure that they're combo, so I don't necessarily, like, want to just bank on that going in. It looks like combo now. We'll sideboard appropriately with the ley lines for the next game. Yeah. Highest possibility here is that this is just going to be Ant. Alright, so I can go land, Chrome Mox, pitch a Tarmogoyf, play Tarmogoyf, and then Ceratops next turn. So we're going to have probably around 10 amazing draws. I mean, my opponent's pretty likely to fetch. They might even play an instant or something. Or he could just kill me. Nope. Not dead. Okay, that's actually pretty good for us as far as a draw goes. That means we can use the Elvish Spirit Guide for haste. And crash in for 6. My opponent did not fetch away another card from that Ponder. I don't feel like that bodes well for me. Oh man, if this stupid bugger got lifelink, that would be so overpowered. Trample's probably the least relevant mode on it, but I've still used that to get people a couple of times. I do think that's one of the problems of the green Stompy deck. You don't have great lifelink options. So if you take a bunch of damage off your own Ancient Tombs, you can't do too much about that. So I assume this is just a very easy Past in Flames kill at this point. Just Past in Flames, Rit, Infernal Tutor, go. I'll just concede to the Past in Flames to save time. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now we know the actual matchup. So Leyline's good. Scavenging Ooze can come back in. Well, it's not fantastic. It's still, you know, technically hate. Choke is definitely medium. Garruk is very actively bad. I don't want that in the deck. Tarmogoyf kind of medium. Choke kind of medium. I think Choke's justifiable when I'm on the play. It's not a primary hate piece, but it'll do work. I think I'm going to trim a Tarmogoyf, trim a Tracker. I can make a comically large Managorger Hydra if my opponent starts to go off. Maybe I'll trim some Once Upon a Times. I'm kind of aggressively mulliganing to see this stuff anyway, so I'd kind of rather just see this stuff with the lands in the first place. No, I don't have Force of Vigor. Force of Vigor is a decent recommendation. Yes. So the real question here is, do I Chalice of the Void on 0 while also playing a turn 1 Managorger Hydra, or do I just Chalice of the Void on 1, which I think is objectively stronger? I'm going to Chalice on 1. But there's an actual consideration to be had there. One stops the cantrips, the dark rituals. It does a lot of work. A couple ways to play this turn. I could just put down the Tireless Tracker ASAP. I could just cast a hasty Mistcutter Hydra. I kind of want to Mistcutter Hydra with haste next turn. And I'll probably fuel the Spirit Guide into that as well. I am going to need to keep an eye on my life total. I'm going to deal a decent amount of damage to myself. I think Tracker Pitch Elvish Spirit Guide is a touch greedy. So the reason why I'm playing out Choke here is so that if my opponent goes for an end step like Echoing Truth or equivalent on this Chalice of the Void, it costs them the Lotus Petals to do it, or these don't untap. I would kind of like to draw another land so I can stop tapping this Ancient Tomb. All right, what do you got for me? Just add Naws from 17? Yep. No castable cards currently. Yep. Managorger Hydra is so hungry. So hungry. So hungry. He would have eaten the heck out of those goblins. Easy. Turn 1, Chalice of the Void. Keep. I mean, Mana Gorger Hydra is sweet. We learned that tonight, if nothing else. So part of me wants to imprint this Tarmogoyf on the Chrome Mox to play Chalice on 1 on turn 1 into Chalice on 2 on turn 2. And then just, like, worry about winning the game at some point after that. I just feel like most decks aren't beating that. It's super awkward if my first Chalice is countered. But Tarmogoyf's not good early anyway. Man, if we're playing against, like, some poor burn player, this ruins them. This is probably pretty good against Tropical Island. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Perfect's off the top. Rawr. Okay, so we saw Wooded Foothills and Tropical Island. Southpaw 2, 3, 5, 3. Do we have data? Last seen on Blue White Spirits, Esper Control, and Stoneblade. So that's a no. I kind of just feel like I should board in this generic anti-blue stuff and call that good. My Trinisteers are probably notably worse on the play. Feel pretty confident in saying that. What's the plus on this again? Gets a creature or land. Sure, I guess it could be blue-green show and tell. But I feel like it's more likely that my opponent is just on some Oko pile. You know, blue-green Omnitel, you know, that it's not one of the decks that jumps to my mind as being like, oh, this is what I should be thinking about. We could just be playing against Infect again. So there's that, too. In which case, I'd obviously want to board differently. But let's assume that we're playing against some blue pile. Maybe we'll assume we slow the game down a little bit and we can trim some Spirit Guides or something. Since, like, Carpet of Flowers does a similar role. My opponent is mulliganed. I will keep this hand, and we'll try to Once Upon a Time for a green source. In not knowing what we're playing against, I don't have anything specific that I want to be mulliganing for. Oh god, why? Why? I did. I also have thought about putting Thought-Knot Seer into this deck and also playing for that. God, it's a second Infect deck tonight. That's so weird. Alright. Alright. Let's board properly now. Don't need to be on Carnage Tyrant. Do want to be on these cards. Probably don't want to be on the chokes. What did we do before? Sort by converted mana cost. So cut my Scavenging Oozes, and then I trimmed elsewhere. So I think I trimmed a Tracker and a Goyf? Something like that. This hand does nothing. This hand plays turn 1 Chalice into turn 2 Tracker or Mana Gorger Hydra. This will be a keep. I think I'm more interested in having Mana Gorger Hydras in play than Tireless Tracker. Alright, Ancient Tomb's actually quite good. So that means we can just cast this Chalice of the Void, hopefully invalidating a chunk of our opponent's hand, and play Mana Gorger into Mana Gorger. Oh, and we have a removal spell now. Our life total isn't also particularly relevant this match either. It's going well. So this Planeswalker is slightly awkward against Inkmoth Nexus as a threat. Like, I can just make wolves with it. But it might be better to hope that my opponent plays something that I can actually interact with it with on the following turn and use it to grow both Mana Gorger Hydras. So really need to hope that my Chalice of the Void does a lot of work. I don't need to buy much time. These Mana Gorgers are going to present a huge amount of pressure, but if my opponent like just has, you know, 2 Invigorates here or something like that, there's not a lot I can do. Grow, Hydras, grow. So I could flip this. I could flip this and turn it into a Ceratops next turn. Is that good? So next turn I could attack, turn a Managorger Hydra into a Ceratops, and keep it back with Reach. Or I can just, like, aggro. So I can hit for 6 here, then 8. No, I can just present lethal next turn. I don't need to get cute. Oh god, please tell me you're going to crop rotation. So that to me says that they have become immense in their deck, and they're trying to potentially play towards that as an out. I mean, it does look like it would fly. I won. I did it. Huh, alright, I mean, Chalice of the Void is a good Magic card. So, I love the pressure that Managorger Hydra is putting on my opponent. And I know I'm just, like, absolutely gushing about this card. But when paired with a lock piece, it does a lot. I'm not 100% sure on these slots. And I almost feel like I want another one of these. We played against some fast decks, so Tracker hasn't shown off its MVP status, but I'm super happy to have that in the long, grindy blue matchups. There's still work to be done here. So let me find the GP list just to show that off, because it's very different from what I'm doing here. Oh, we'll talk about that later. Next time I'm queuing. You too. Alright, what does my hand do? Cast Once Upon a Time, try to find a soul land, play turn 1 Trinosphere. Yeah, I think I'm down for this. Alright, we are playing against elves. Oh man, we missed on the soul land. So we're probably going to need to do this a little differently. But I think it's okay. We can take a forest. Cast a Chrome Mox. Imprint this Hydra. And play turn 1 Trinisphere. We'll then hope to either draw a soul land or another land to just play out Misty. Or sorry, to just play out a pair of Ceratops. Am I willing to throw away a Ceratops to guarantee play a Ceratops next turn? I don't know that I am. It's awkward. Thank you very much for your continued support. I really do appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying the madness that is this league. If my opponent doesn't have another land drop, just throwing the dinosaur into play next turn is very good. Greatness at any cost. The reason why I'm willing to make this play is because if I draw another land off the top, I can still just give the Shifting Ceratops haste. Oh, wow. Let's do this. Now we have a much swifter clock than my opponent. And they discard. We're going to play another one of these in case my opponent has, like, a Rex Sage situation later on. Opponent fighting the good fight over there. I respect that. You want to attack into my Mana Gorger Hydra? Because I will 100% trade Mana Gorger Hydra for Dryad Arbor. No thoughts given. I realized I shouldn't F6 because I can technically give my Ceratops trample if necessary. Man, we bullied Elves there. Elves isn't really on the list of decks that I was planning on bullying with this, but here we are. Spyglass to stop bouncing shenanigans is kind of interesting. Batterskull just so I don't die to generic beatdowns is also interesting. Vivian Reed is probably too slow. So I would consider boarding these in. But I don't know that any of them are necessarily amazing. We're looking to kind of like trample over my opponent's elves rather than kill them. I think putting Batterskull on some of these creatures is hilarious in any game that I lock up via Chalice and Trinisphere. But I don't know that any of these cards are just better than the main deck cards. That's That's what I'm currently unsure about. Tarmogoyf is probably pretty medium. I'm using my opponents to fuel the Tarmogoyf rather than doing it myself. Like, I basically only put lands into the graveyard. So if my Goyfs are bad, maybe I play these 4 cards and call that good. Like, Tarmogoyf just doesn't feel great. You know, its biggest upside is that it's green and pitches to Mox. So this hand just creates a Mana Gorger Hydra on turn 2. Turn 1 if I find a Spirit Guide. And it has a medium card here as well. I think I'm going to ship this one. Like, let's try to find something that has a Chalice or something. This has an or something. I have a curve of Spyglass into Hydra into Garruk with Once Upon a Time to fix things. Yeah, the Ballistas would be looking real nice here. So I think I'm going to keep this one, throw away my City of Traders, and just kind of hope that a Spyglass ruins my opponent. Ew, their Once Upon a Time helps. We'll probably end up naming Wirewood Symbiote with this Spyglass. Alright, what do we have here? Scavenging Ooze? Land? Scavenging Ooze seems medium as of right now. Would offset the life loss from Ancient Tomb, but just the land might be better. Opponent's hand does things. But we have shut off my opponent's engine. My opponent can green sun for 1 this turn. Green sun for 0. If they have a second Dryad Arbor. No. Alright, so Visionary and Cradle are out of there. My opponent is threatening to have a lot of mana quickly. So they can just green sun for a Rex Sage, destroy my Spyglass. Oh no, they drew Natural Order. Uh-oh. I'm probably just dead here. Let's not do the math. Let's just block, see what happens. Are we dead? I think we're dead. Elder Spirit Guide can be found off of Once Upon a Time, which is why it's better in this deck. I will be keeping this hand. I hope to Once Upon a Time into Ancient Tomb to Trinisphere on turn 1. We will also absolutely accept City of Traders. Snap. Yes. So we are going to get Trinisphere into Tireless Tracker before my opponent can make any plays. We'll hope to follow that up with another creature the following turn. Delicious. Best draw would probably be Elvish Spirit Guide to give this Ceratops haste next turn. That's an incredible follow-up play for later as well. I guess I could have done all of this pre-combat since I have Trinisphere in play. You naturally have Rex Sage? That'd be cool. It'd be very good for you. A Nettle Sentinel. That's less good. So note, we kind of deny my opponent 2 mana here by Stone Raining them and also reducing the amount of mana that Gaia's Cradle actually taps for. GG's indeed. Didn't necessarily expect to beat Elves here. Ooh, opponent's hand was powerful. But Force of Vigor isn't exactly going to defeat Trinisphere if our opponent doesn't have 3 mana in the first place. Opponent's hand was very good, but just did not have the time. We just clocked him hard. So this deck has a lot of potential. Again, deck building's still a little hazy around the edges, but this shell is real. Oh, and we've already been paired. This hand looks incredibly fair to me in a bad way. Like, we have no play until turn 3 if we draw a land. I'm going to try to find something a little more degenerate. Turn 1, Forest, go. Turn 2, City of Trader, Mana Gorger, Hydra. Turn 3, Wooded Foothills, Ceratops, Elvish Spirit Guide, give it haste. Keep. Ship away Tarmogoyf. So I definitely don't like our position right now. We were really hoping to play against like some sort of blue deck with this hand. I think we're just going to get obliterated by Rishapenport. So I can play City, Spirit Guide, put a Managorger Hydra into play. Next turn, my city would get ported down, and then I have no play. I don't know that I can afford to do that. I think I'm just going to play out this land and hope that our opponent decides to stop porting me. Stop playing Giver of Runes in your decks. Giver of Runes is fucking terrible. Just don't do it. Mother of Runes is a good card. It got unbanned. Like, play it. Please. I beg you. I don't really... Well, do I have time to play this Chalice to play around Source of Plowshares? Probably not. Probably not. Oh wow, my opponent did not have a 2-drop. Just gonna jailer me. That'll feel pretty terrible. Yeah, Sanctum Prelate away, friend. What are you even naming? 4? 4 for the Karns that aren't in my deck anymore? 4 for the Karns that aren't in my deck anymore. Nice. So I can play Shifting Ceratops, Chrome Mox, give it haste, crash in, hope Mirran Crusader isn't on the other side of the battlefield. Look, Flicker Wisp is good against everything, so don't worry about that part. Haste. And we came here to turn cards sideways. Our opponent has Mirran Crusader, and they'd like take my Shifting Ceratops out right now. Like, so be it. It sucks. Well, they were taking the Managorger Hydra out right now. Chalice 0 to turn a Hydra into a 5/5 that turn might have been correct, actually. Would have prevented that exact situation. Mirror Crusader seems really hard to beat. Death and Taxes more generally is really hard to beat. And also take this card out of your D&T decks. This card is also garbage. It is so much more of a liability than it is upside. Alright, we're not beating Stoneforge Mystic for Sword of Fire and Ice on Mirror Crusader. Not happening. I don't know that we can beat Death and Taxes more generally. So, like, the Chalices and Trinispheres are both quite bad. Tarmogoyf is actually only going to be medium because our opponent isn't fueling the graveyard either. So the big tramply stuff, the grindy stuff is fine, but we have a lot of things that we actually like to take out, and not that many things that we'd want to bring in. Like, do I just want to play a 6-mana 7/6 versus Death and Taxes? Probably not. So these cards are more valuable when on the play. I think I need to cut these. I 100% want Spyglass for Ether Vial and or equipment. I think I 100% want Batter Skull, partially to just get something that isn't green, and partially because throwing it on a Trampler endgame will allow me to punch through some otherwise stupid board states. And, like, then there's this stuff. Vivian Reed probably needs to come in just as something that can destroy an artifact. I don't like that it's 5 mana. But I think that's where I'm at. So I think when I'm on the play, I'm going to keep in all of these. When I'm on the draw, I'm probably going to cut all my Trinispheres and just play like 2 Carnage Tyrants and a Tarmogoyf to round things out and not be happy about it. The GP deck that had Ballista in it, you know, I can kind of see why this matchup is probably abysmal. All right. So I get to Once Upon a Time for like a Soul Land. Play turn 1 Ooze or second Once Upon a Time and maybe a turn 2 Ceratops if I hit a Soul Land off either one of the Once Upon a Times. That's a weird hand. I think I'd rather start with a Chalice or Trinisphere than this. And just try to, like, invalidate some of what my opponent is doing. Like, if I keep this hand and my opponent has a Swords to Plowshares or Path to Exile, I think I just lose on the spot. Yeah, this hand I will keep. And probably play turn 1 Trinisphere into turn 2 Tracker. Note, this will be slightly awkward in that, like, I'm going to play Tireless Tracker and then probably immediately play a land. Alright, that's the game we're playing. We can pass for a couple of turns. Haha, you can't port me, sucker. I mean, like, you can port me, but I just fetch in response. It becomes very awkward if I miss on land this turn, though. Alright. Now you can port me. But how many lands do you have? No, alright, you're just gonna play Mirror Crusader. And I'm just gonna miss on lands. Alright, we're probably just gonna die to that Mirror Crusader. We're 100% gonna die to that Mirror Crusader. So if they ever decide not to port me, I can do things. Recruiter of the Guard will just get Phyrexian Revoker for Chrome Mox in all likelihood. Alright, I think we're just dead to Crusader. That's a problem card to consider for future iterations of this deck. Yeah. I think I'm just going to call that one good there. Alright, so we still ended up ahead there. So looking at the one Dino Stompy list from the GP, they were playing 3 Walking Ballistas and Dreadnought Seer in the main deck, which is sort of interesting because you can play Prismatic Vista to search for both Wastes and Forest. Here's the awkward thing about their shell, though. So they have 4 Chalice of the Voids, 4 Karns, 3 Ballistas, 4 Dreadnought Seers. If you look at how many targets they actually have for Chrome Mox, it's not nearly as many as you might like. And a lot of the things that you're Chrome Moxing away are actually pretty good. So I think this version has gone too deep on the colorless stuff. But Walking Ballista is definitely a consideration for this deck list. So I wish we had played against some like blue mid-rangey Oko decks to like see how we fared against that. But we played against a lot of dudes tonight, plus Ann. All right, give me just a second to switch over my deck list to this one on Cardboard Live. All right, let me just confirm that that's working. Oh, I need to refresh the page now. Yeah, there we go. And sorry, I'm going to reach and grab something that's just outside the door. All right, so deck 2 of the night is a colorless Stompy deck. This one's neat. I'm sorry I didn't look at the person's name ahead of time, but this is one of the deck lists from the KMCs over in Japan. And this deck is something special. So it has a lot of combos. So you can Ether Vial in Mere Superior, because you can't cast it. You can spend only mana produced by creatures to cast this spell. You can Eldrazi Mimic a Phyrexian Dreadnought to just swing in for 12 power. You can manifest Mirror Superior or Phyrexian Dreadnought to go and cheat them into play. This deck is just wild, and if you look at the sideboard, there's 4 boom piles in the sideboard. 4 mana, flip a coin. If you win the flip, destroy all non-land permanents. So this deck list is just all sorts of crazy, and I absolutely want to try it out. It looks like a pile to me, but it's a sweet pile. Colorless Stompy. Let's fight. Oh, and I suppose I'm dividing a YouTube video here, so hey YouTube, Bill Gallagher, Thraben University, you probably know the drill by now. Let's play with a crazy deck. Is this hand good? So this Ether Vial basically does nothing. The Spyglass doesn't feel like something that I want to cast. I can play a couple of uncounterable Mimics, and I don't think I like this. This one I'll keep. In many ways, I like the first hand better, but we can try to cheat a Phyrexian Dreadnought into play. And that's what everyone came here for. I mean, you might have came here for Dino Stompy, but this is where we're at. Alright, so our opponent is playing some sort of Oko pile. I wanted to face this, like, last round. Oh man, am I just getting him to Turok? Well, that's not fun. Alright, Ballista and Eldrazi Temple go the way of the Dodo. Our Scroll of Fate will be incredibly good if it resolves. It's a shame my opponent went and... Scroll of Elk. Scroll of Elk, indeed. Alright, so I guess we'll attack first. I don't care if I trade Matter Reshaper for Baleful Strix. Give me that sweet, sweet card action. That is a scenario that punishes me for not playing my land pre-combat. I wish I had thought about that. I guess we'll put it on the battlefield, though. So the next question is, do I just, like, play this Ancient Tomb out, or do I save it to be a 2/2? I feel like I can wait on it. I don't feel like I need to unflip the Phyrexian Dreadnought immediately. The thing that punishes me for not playing out the other land is specifically Culligan's Command. Like, Culligan's Command, deal 2 damage to this, destroy this, is so devastating here if I don't play out the Ancient Tomb. I mean, perfectly fine with Abrupt Decay on that at this stage. That's not the prize here anymore. I guess Lightning Bolt on the 2/2 is also a bit punishing. Alright, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is enough mana to do everything that I want to do. Man, Teferi's so awkward. Alright, we take a Teferi. So my opponent can use the Astrolabe to cast Teferi, bounce the Dreadnought, and then I can whack them to 3 life or kill the Teferi. So I super awkwardly have some uncastable cards in hand. Man, did you really get Swords of Plowshares in that Teferi draw or draw for turn? Yep. Alright. So we have 2 uncastables. We have our opponent close to dead, but problems are going to accrue quickly. We did whack our opponent for 12, though. So, win? I feel like that's winning. But I don't know that we're going to like get through this wall, especially with draws like that. Womp womp. I'm not going to concede this one, but I really feel like we're dead. I need a scroll. So I can, like, scroll, play Dreadnought. I guess I should keep making land drops for ballista reasons. So I can still, like, scroll, turn Dreadnought into a dude, attempt to equip it with Lightning Greaves, then flip it face up. And 12 my opponent even through a couple of blockers. Alright. You can Inquisition me and see the Mirror Superiors that are rotting in my hand. I'm okay with giving you that information. Opponent not quite low enough that Ballista is just an out yet. I'm happy they don't have another Planeswalker yet. That I will hold. Because if I get a Construct or something like that, I would really like to have the correct creature type. It's just kind of awkward if my opponent has Hymn to Torak or something like that and I lose it. At least the clock is anemic. I don't think I want to play this deck against Swords of Plowshare decks. Okay, that's a card. We try to equip it. Things could get really weird here. Again, Swords of Plowshares or Snapcaster Swords of Plowshares would be very good. Decay my Lightning Greaves. Okay. Destroy my Matter Reshaper. Gives me a Thought-Knot Seer. Alright. We'll name Eldrazi. Opponent has an answer to this too. What, like Snapcaster, Drown in the Lock, destroy it? Now my opponent's clock is very good, and I've lost the ability to just haste kill stuff out of the middle of nowhere. Oh great, I get to pick between giving them a Teferi or a Drown in the Lock. I don't think I can let them just play Teferi, bounce Teferi, have Snapcaster again. So I think Teferi is better than Drown in the Lock. But it's still just a disaster. And so this is converting mana cost, not power, right? We plow onwards. Opponent is at 3. Matter Reshaper represents lethal. It's not going to kill them. I mean, obligatory attack is obligatory. I will put Scroll of Fate onto the battlefield. Nice. So this Wasteland is going to turn into a 2/2. All right. Goodbye, Wasteland. I hardly knew thee. The fact that we're in this game is crazy. Yeah, Mirror Superior doesn't trample or anything, right? No. Yeah, that's fine. We'll trade. That guy. Scroll of Fate becomes an elk. Astrolabe becomes an elk. That's probably better. So I have this Drown in the lock, which is going to kill my Dreadnought anyway. And I can't Wasteland them off of Drown in the lock because Swamp plus any land gives them that mana. Is it better for me to block? Maybe not. I just don't know how I beat just 7 damage coming in next turn, so I think I have to go for a win. Yep. Alright, so now they just plus there and I die. Alright, well, I guess I could Scroll of Fate, put in this as a 2/2. No, they still attack me for 4. So despite our overwhelming disadvantage, we had many live draws to stay in that game. So I complained a lot, but things were interesting. I feel like my deck is awkward versus their entire deck. Is this what Boom Pile is for? Like you're playing a pile of permanents, I will just destroy all of them? I have no idea how to sideboard. So like Chalice is fine to stop Astrolabe and some stuff, but their converted mana costs are so varied that I don't know that that's actually worth it. What's Aether Vial good for? Vialing in a Dreadnought at instant speed to get a free Mimic kill, or vialing in Mirror Superior. I guess I need to keep it. Or I'll alternatively board out Mirror Superior for other cards. Do I have 8 cards I would board in? Because if I could board out Vile and Mirror Superior for 8 cards, I might be more happy with that. So, like, I could play Boom Pile, I could play Warping Whale. And then I need to play 2 other cards, and I could play like 2 Chalices or 2 Thorns. They're just awkward with Boom Pile because I'd be wanting to blow up everything anyway. But I guess that's all fine. Well, I think this entire deck is awkward, but it's so intriguing that I had to try it out. Absolutely keep this hand. So, do I just go for the Goldfish here? I can turn 1 Eldrazi Mimic, turn 2 Scroll, put in Dreadnought, flip Dreadnought, and just attack for 12 on turn 1. Or no, that's not how that's going to work. Because it's not going to enter the battlefield as that. I mean, I could still go for a Goldfish in that capacity. Well, no. So I'm gonna put Phyrexian Dreadnought face down rather than just cast it, so it'll enter the battlefield as a 2/2. Oh, what if I flip it in response to the trigger? Oh God, yeah. Ooh, maybe that does work the way I want it to. I'm not sure that it's correct to just YOLO this hand, though. I have multiple disruptive pieces. I could slow this one down and do that same thing a little bit later. So, like, I could turn 1 Spyglass one of their lands, turn 2 Thorn and Mimic, then turn 3 do that. I think rather than going turbo, I'm gonna go a touch disruptive and get perfect information. Alright. Why did you show me the polluted delta you just drew instead of something else? Awkwardly, this Strix is going to be very good versus my board now. Hmm. So I guess I'm just trading Mimic for Strix. And then having a 12/12 for the following turn that is probably just going to get Abrupt Decayed or bounced. I don't really want to lose my City of Traders. But if I don't play out a land, then I can't potentially unmorph this Mimic if my opponent doesn't block for some reason. I think that's fine. I think they're about 100% to block. Okay. Awkward. Just awkward all around. Oh, that's amazing. Making this uncounterable seems strong. So I know most of my opponent's cards, but I don't know all of them. Let's ping Baleful Strix. Let's turn that face up. And go ahead and crash in for 14. Say what you will about this deck. It can do things. It can do things. I think we'll whack submit the same way as before. I think I'm supposed to keep this hand, just based on the power level of multiple Thought-Knot Seers in a row. Boompile is a great Magic the Gathering card. You walked into greatness. Probably playing out this hand glacially slowly, which I don't like. I was about to say, just like don't take my City of... Never mind. Never mind. So I guess the second one of these goes on, like, Construct for Ballista. They took my Ballista. They took my Ballista. So I have 2 Ballistas left. Versus Dreadnought for hardcasting a Phyrexian Dreadnought. I don't really see myself doing with this hand, that with this hand. So I guess we'll name Construct. And pass the turn. I'd rather play Thought-Knot Seer into Thought-Knot Seer than Matter Reshaper into Thought-Knot Seer, also losing my City of Traders. It's an Oko. You making an elk? Are you making food? The next question is, do I, like, boom pile and accept a 2 for 1? Or am I supposed to, like, try to drag that on for a while longer and grind out value with it? So I can play Thought-Knot Seer, take a card from their hand, and then create an elk. Well, Thought-Knot Seer is kind of awkward against Oko. I think I am going to go ahead and play out a Thought-Knot Seer. I'd like additional information that I don't currently have. We're going to take Jace the Mind Sculptor out of this hand. I know we can potentially boom pile that away, but I don't want to risk that. I don't like playing Volcanic Island prior to Ponder. You lose the ability to shuffle things away by doing that, and you already have access to, like... I guess you don't have access to red mana. But there's just no reason to play out that beforehand. My boom pile! Life's awkward. I guess we continue on this train. Yep, we'll take the ferry. I don't want to trade an elk for Thought-Knot Seer. I would much rather put my opponent into a situation where they have to go and turn these into elks. Do you mean my opponent is doing one of the better things in the format? Because that's what they're doing. I don't know if you poured over the GP results yet. But there's a lot of Oko Astrolabe piles there of various natures. Sometimes it's a Miracles shell, sometimes it's like a 5-color control shell, just casting like relatively good cards like my opponent's doing there. But Oko is one of the best things in the format. Rude. They took my Matter Reshaper and gave me a food. I think both of those cards are fine. I think they're both very, very good, but I think they're fine. Ugh. You're always going to have a best card in the format. I think I'm on the wrong side of this match. I'm going to go ahead and concede this one. I could play this out for a bit longer, but I've gotten bored. Like, I could have played towards Boom Pile blowing up their entire board and sweeping everything. But I'd rather just, like, get into another game and try to meme some people. Alright. Turn one, City of Traders Lightning Greaves. Turn 2, Dreadnought Seer Equip. Go. Keep. Hit me with that Astrolabe action. Yeah. Well, I was in kind of a silly mood. Like, I decided to play both Dino Stompy and this tonight, right? So, like, it's clear what I wanted to do. Despite the fact that it can be turned into an elk, I do think Scroll of Fate has a lot of potential against these mid-range decks like this one. It really sucks that I'm going to eat a Swords of Plowshares on my Dreadnought Seer here. But I still think it is correct to cast that regardless. Because there is a chance that they don't have it. Oh my god. Yeah. I actually think I'm supposed to take the Force of Will from this hand. It's kind of the odd man out here. At some point, resolving this Scroll of Fate is going to be pretty important. And despite the fact that Jace the Mind Sculptor is an amazing card, the Lightning Greaves on my side of the table will help to mitigate some of that. But I don't think I want to allow them to force pitching a Jace on, say, my Scroll of Fate. Alright, opponent may not have another land yet. No shuffle. Okay, they found a land. Okay. Copyright, thank you very much for your continued support. I hope you're enjoying these shenanigans here. I think I'm supposed to try to force out the other swords to plowshares here. My opponent has disconnected. That's unfortunate, but we'll just kind of hang out and chat about Legacy while they're getting their connection back. I mean, Scroll of Fate is interesting. It turns every card you draw into a 2/2, and some of them are considerably better 2/2s after a little bit of a mana investment. So I think, despite some complaints about Oko and Astrolabe from the masses, I think Legacy's in a great spot right now. Second at the Grand Prix plays Courser main deck. I didn't specifically take note of that, but can pull it up and take a look. Are you talking about the Miracles-ish list? Or is like the Icefang Coatl deck? Oh, I clicked the wrong one. The Bug Zenith Oko deck. Alright. Attempt to equip Matter Reshaper. Get swords to plowshared. Alright. Opponent has a land, they just get to stick a Jace. Oh, they don't. Hope for me continues. Yeah, I have a lot of lists that I'm excited to try out. I do think this bug list seems good. Obviously, Oko is one of the best things you can be doing in the format right now. And I think, like, Plague Engineer is great. Tireless Tracker is great. The value you can generate off of Courser seems fine. I do really like the sideboard of this deck. There's a lot of really interesting cards there. Like a Trinisphere from a blue deck is pretty spicy. Yeah, so the fear is not necessarily just Jace, right? It's Jace where my Scroll of Fate gets answered. That's the real problem situation. All right. So here we go. Scroll of Fate. But I just wanted to have fun. Alright, so we have to play as Aether Vial instead now. Aether Vial will put Mere Superior into play in 2 turns. So that's something. And we can still have a 2/2 with haste next turn if my opponent plays a Jace. Which I presume they will. Like, I'm going to presume one of those has gotten shuffled away. That's in there too. Okay. Cool. So some people have told me, Phil, I don't think Choke was all that good right now. The Astrolabe means they can just play around it. Like, look at this. Choke would be amazing. So this is kind of a weird turn. So I can play Walking Ballista as a 1/1. Equip it, attempt to attack Jace with it. Then post-combat, play Matter Reshaper and move the Greaves to it. No, so they Mystic Sanctuary, Source of Plowshares to the top of their deck, and they have that mana open via Astrolabe. That's what chat's missing. So that, like, this puts my opponent in an awkward position where if they want to remove this Ballista, they have to do it right now. But if they do it right now, something else might come down. So if they Swords of Plowshares this here, I get to kill the Jace via a hasty Matter Reshaper. Assume this is gone. All right, so they are biting. So I can just shoot them directly. Man, this deck is weird. They did take the bait. Oh, buddy. I think I will do that pre-combat. See what's going on over there? Then punch my opponent in the face with Mere Superior. All right. The terminus there... That was blind. Is pretty rough. Wait, no, I guess it could have been the second card down from the Jace Brainstorm. Hold on, we still don't know that this isn't a greed pile. For all we know, there's still like Okos and Blasts and Veils of Summers in there. Alright, so now I get to take one of their cards. So that's annoying. I can take Swords of Plowshares and get a 5/6 Shroud in play right now. Or I can just trade like my board for theirs. Like I can trade my Mirror Superior for their Swords of Plowshares and then just hope my top decks are better than their top decks. If their next draw is a whiff, then taking the Swords of Plowshares is probably better. If their next draw is a hit, leaving them with this Oko is probably disastrous. So the thing is that I can force Oko onto the defensive. So if my opponent does not have another play other than just the Oko, I beat that. So like if their other card is a blank, they can go like Oko plus on an Astrolabe. I attack Oko. 5 is enough to kill Oko, so they're obligated to chump or lose Oko and gain an Elk in the process. Yeah, I think my opponent's better off in the top deck war than I am. Yeah, so if they spiked Swords of Plowshares per turn and they just get to like Swords of Plowshares my Mirror Superior or something, then I lose. Yep, alright. Nope. Nope. Ugh. So I really don't know about this whole, like, Vile Mirror Superior side of the deck. The last two draws were not set up, right? I think I want to board out some of this stuff for some of this stuff. These boom piles are also awkward when I also want to be, like, playing my thorns and chalices. Let's bring in a miser's boom pile for when things go wrong. Yeah, I just don't know about this portion of the deck. Like, I'm feeling the Scroll of Fate, Phyrexian, Dreadnought combo. Like, I'm all about that. That's super neat. But Vile feels pretty darn slow. And it's not like you can just, like, leave Vile at a certain number for a huge amount of value. By just keeping this one off of turn 1 Chalice of the Void. Yes. The rest of this hand just does nothing, though. I think I have to ship this one. This is a awkward hand. Guess I'm gonna keep this one. Send away the boom pile and just play this one a little bit slowly rather than just lose my city on turn 1. So JD, the plan is to manifest it face down and then turn it up for 1 mana so that we actually just play around its ability. Oh, nice. Our opponent had 1 land. Synergy. Notably, a 2/2 walking ballista with Shroud that grows by 1 every turn might just beat our opponent. Ah, not looking so hot now, are you? That's actually very nice. Almost, actually. My Chalice is awkward with that. Should have just played the slightly bigger guy. But it's well, whatever. I'm holding up Warping Whale. That's what we're doing. I'm holding up Warping Whale. Really, though, like a Council's Judgment is one of the easiest ways for us to, like, lose a lot of board position, so I don't hate this. They cast a Council's Judgment, I'm countering it. End of discussion. Will I cast a 2/2? I think I'll cast a 2/2. Because I want to Wasteland my opponent, and if I'm going to Wasteland my opponent, I probably need to use mana from City of Traders first. Yeah, I'll become a 2/2. Let's try to equip my Ballista, so it can attack this turn. Oh, I did it. You've destroyed the Chalice of the Void. Dreams live for next turn. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Whatever this is, I like it. They're at 12. They're at 12. I'm going to do it. This whole stream will have been worth it. Oh, I'm doing it. Trap card has been activated. Note they can still Force of Will. Don't Force of Will. Let me have this. Yes, yes. Okay, so I need to put the Dreadnought one on the stack first. Yeah. Got him. So do I want more boom piles when I'm on the draw? I think the Spyglass, or sorry, not the Spyglass. I think the Thorn of Amethyst become way worse on the draw. I think it's fine on the play when I can take advantage of it, but you know, if I play this and then my opponent plays Oko, I kind of look like a fool, right? Let's play some more boom piles for the variance, you know. You know, this hand seems fine. It becomes very, very good, I think, if I spike an Ancient Tomb. Instead of just normal good. So as of right now, I just go like turn 1 Mimic, turn 2 attempt to 12 them. If 12ing them doesn't work, proceed to play normal Eldrazi game of Cast Thought-Knot Seer until opponent is sad. Is my opponent contemplating Force of Willing and Eldrazi Mimic? I feel like I've won the battle if that's the case. Oh man, our opponent is way behind on clock. Ah, the classically awkward I have Chalice of the Void and Phyrexian Dreadnought in hand problem. I'm not going to YOLO that into all of that mana. Oh, I see, man. Is it legit counterspell? Oh my gosh, it's legit counterspell. Would you remind me what you tweeted yesterday? Nothing stands out at this. Oh, the storm count. Yes. Oh my gosh, that post cracked me up. That was a beautiful, beautiful screenshot. All right, brainstorm into ponder to shuffle away the muck. Uh-oh. Do you smell that, chat? Does that smell like 12 damage to you? Does that smell like 12 damage to you? It smells like 12 damage to me. Wildfire, we're not here for safe plays. That's not what we're here for. So I think this play is actually better. The reason being, that you get to reduce your opponent's life total to almost 0 if it works. And if it doesn't, Chalice is your follow-up play, which protects the Thought-Knots here for the following turn. So, like, next turn I have the possibility of, like, potentially... Jeebus, okay! Nothing I did would have worked. Pitching double Snapcaster. Alright, you don't have many cards left. Yeah, Force of Will this one. Do it. Do it. Why don't you put back double Terminus and see what happens? The funny thing is, like, if opponent has Astrolabe as a draw, and they put back, like, double Terminus or something, they'll, like, just redraw a card with the Astrolabe. Swords of Plowshares, Terminus, Return to Nature. None of those cards do anything right now. I guess I take Swords to Plowshares. I don't even know really what they're looking for with that Ponder. Would have to be like white land plus a Terminus. Actually, I'm gonna hit them for 6. If I draw a soul land, I can kill them. It just pumps the Mimic to a 3/3, meaning I have 7 damage plus 3 from Ballista Shoot. My opponent's also very likely to just time out. If they start taking over this game, like they have less than 5 minutes on the clock, they're taking about a minute per cantrip. I don't think that is going to be an appropriate pace to win this game. Can I go to the bathroom before they resolve this Ponder? I did not succeed. But they cast another cantrip. I missed so much. So many game actions. So that's not a bad draw. So I can hit my opponent for 6. And then shoot them for 2. I don't think that's good. Let's just start here. I don't think I want to play this around a Spell Pierce. I think I just want to have Wasteland available as a 2/2 for a post-Terminus world. Because then if my opponent like cracks Polluted Delta, they go to 3. Alright, you got the Force of Will. So I kind of want to Wasteland this Polluted Delta now. That's the only way that that line makes sense to me. Now they have to hit a blind Terminus to not be dead on board. They did not hit that. Hey, welcome. You're just in time for some shenanigans. We're just about to kill a relatively slow Miracles player. I guess they still have an out of staying alive. Of brainstorming. No, they killed that off. They could have brainstormed into Terminus as an out. I think they got nothing. Yeah, right? Dreadnought Stompy. All right, so for those of you who are tuning in from the raid, you can take a look at the deck list via the Cardboard Live extension, but I'm going to pull it up here for you. So here's the mini deck tech. You use Scroll of Fate to manifest cards that normally have a downside, such as Phyrexian Dreadnought or... where'd he go? Or Mir Superior. And then you can just flip them up for their mana cost. So for Phyrexian Dreadnought, you can just tap Scroll of Fate and then pay 1 mana to turn this into a 12/12 Trampler. And Mir Superior, similarly, like you can just avoid its downside by putting it in via Scroll of Fate. Alternatively, you can do some tricksy things, like use Phyrexian Dreadnought just to like super giant growth your Eldrazi Mimic. I don't know what gives plus 10 plus plus 10 plus 9, but whatever that is, or no, not 10 plus 9. I have 1 toughness. That math, 10 plus 11. And like you can do instant speed shenanigans with Mimic. You have an odd amount of wiggle room. Yeah, this is match 7 of me streaming after teaching all day, so brain's a little fried at this point. Keep. So I can Cavern on Eldrazi, play Vile turn 1 to have turn 3 Mir Superior with haste and protection. Yeah, that seems fine. Oh! We have gotten our Vile forced. That's okay. 9 copies of Lightning Greaves not really great. I'm a little afraid if this Delver just flips, because like Delver plus the damage that we're going to take from Ancient Tomb is going to end up being a lot of damage. That's a fine draw, though. So I guess this would put a creature and an artifact in the graveyard. So if I'm going to attack, I should do it pre-combat. I'm not sure that I do want to attack, though. I don't think I'm the aggressor on this board. I think I want to use this Matter Reshaper to block the Tarmogoyf. So one of my problems with this deck so far has been I can't do a lot with these cards without some other piece to help and set them up. Ballista can go to our hand. I'm just like so dead to a Wasteland at any point. Tarmogoyf is also a big boy now. Malamuja, my hand is garbage. Take what you want. I guess it's this. Maybe it's that just out of fear, but I'm not doing a lot. Yeah, my opponent appears to be on Bug Delver. Hand that's carefully sculpted to play around Thoughtseize. Yeah, we'll go with that. Legacy All-Star Dust Bowl that many of you might need to read. Doesn't really have text right now because I don't think I can afford to be destroying my opponent's lands. So, although it hasn't seen much play since, I don't know, it got way worse post-printing of Abrupt Decay. Lightning Greaves used to be a Legacy staple not that many years ago. Like, what, 5 years ago or something like that? It was, I think, a multiple of main deck in Mud, back when Mud was still a thing. So we're just going to get shot down in about 3 more turns by this Tarmogoyf. Yes, well, no, I don't want to play out extra copies of cards because I could manifest them later as chump blockers. Yeah, that was the dream. Is you equip it to your Metalworker, produce a ton of mana, use the ton of mana to create something like a Mere Battlesphere or something like that. Give it haste, crash in with it, and Bob's your uncle. But the Metalworker decks haven't been good in a long time. Although, if we're being honest, that potentially might just be, alright. Malamujo being mean, not leaving us with any permanents. So what do I want against Delver? Well, I'm not in blue at all. I'm a completely colorless deck here. Do we boom pile Bug Delver? I'm so confused about how I'm supposed to be sideboarding for this deck. Like, if it's combo, I get that. But are the boom piles for everything that's not combo? Is that how that works? So I don't love Chalice versus Bug Delver. Like, they have Abrupt Decays and Tarmogoyfs and stuff that, like, either goes around it or doesn't care about it. Maybe let's not Sorcerer Spyglass them and play 2 Boom Piles. Then Ballista basically is going to kill Delver and maybe not that many other things. Maybe we play 4 Boom Piles. Yeah, let's do that. Why not? I haven't seen a Coldotha Forge Master activated in Legacy in a hot minute. There's no gas in this hand. I can't keep that. This hand's terrible. We're going to play this so my opponent can't play a turn 1 Delver into it. And we're going to really hope the Scroll of Fate resolves, and then really hope that we do something else cool after that. Boom Pile destroys permanents. That's its one job. It destroys all of them. There should be a maybe after that. It maybe destroys all of them. Alright. Pretty sure we've lost this one at this point. We're on a mold of 5. Our big payoff card got countered. Yeah, coin flips in Legacy, not just for your casual, what is it, Caravax thumb deck. Oh no, they get to take one of my Boom Piles. Oh, well, I certainly don't mind that. Fatal Push the Ballista. I'll hit you. So that kind of makes me think that they have a Delver, since they value that over the Eldrazi Mimic, which has combo potential. Yeah, I'll have to edit that. I swear I had edited that before. Force Pitch Snapcaster. Hey, you know what'd be cool? Drawing the Dreadnought and killing my opponent. Alright, we're not getting a kill through that. I can play a Boom Pile, though. No block. I'll go to 5. I mean, I think I'm supposed to trade Mimic and Boom Pile for double Tarmogoyf. Flip. Heads. I won the flip. Kaboom! Nah, Pro Peeps, it's not 50-50. It's rigged. It always works. 50% of the time, it works 100% of the time. That looks like lethal. Well, poop. But we boom piled some stuff. So we got that going for us. This is an odd glass cannon deck. In that, like, you're kind of hoping to mise these quick wins off of Dreadnought, but at the same time, you can Scroll of Fate and grind through some things. I don't really know how I feel about this deck. Negative is the net overall, but opening with Lightning Greaves into Thought-Knots here, for example, is, like, totally reasonable by, like, Legacy standards. And they're unmasking themselves. They're producing a Grizzlebrand on turn 1. Alright, are there worlds where I beat this? So I could Lightning Greaves this turn, Thought-Knots here, attack for 4 next turn, but then I'm just, like, not beating the Grizzlebrand afterwards. I think I'm going to concede for information here and just not let my opponent know what I'm on. Alright. Get in here. We could legitimately bring in all 15 cards from our sideboard. I don't think we're going to go Boom Pile deep. I think we're going to, like, try to prevent them from putting that stuff into play in the first place. Alright. Jitte out. Ballista out. Cut all vials every game card is awful. That might be legitimate. It's more legitimate since I'm drawing Chalice, and because I want to, like, use my opening turns to play out, like, Chalice Thorn. So if I cut that, that also means I want to cut Mere Superior, though. So that would mean I need to keep 2 of the cards that are here. I guess we can just keep Ballista. Just as something we can technically cast. And we just, like, play this pile O hate. Sure. The thing about the Stompy decks is it doesn't really matter how you win if you, like, really hate hard on your opponent. Yeah, I'll keep this. So, like, here we're just going to get Thorn into Thought-Knots here, and as long as our opponent doesn't have Chancellor, this game's probably very easy for us. Alright, they do not have Chancellor. So our opponent currently has no way of getting cards in the graveyard other than their Cabal Therapy. So we're going to take that and leave them with the Animate Dead, rather than leave them with something that can put cards into their graveyard, and then let them spike any reanimation spell. So we spike the Enabler here. It essentially leaves them with a 0-card hand. And they chose not to play Polluted Delta there. So I don't think we're going to need any more mana other than this game. Thorn. So we're going to hit them for 6 and then hit them for 8 on current board. So opponent can hard discard a creature here. They hard discard a Grizzlebrand. Bad news, friend. Thorn of Amethyst. Quite strong. I believe that leaves them with no outs, because they can't Dark Ritual. Yeah, opponent drawing that Chancellor rather than having that Chancellor in the opening hand was the difference between winning and losing that game. So, like, if I didn't get to Thorn of Amethyst on turn 1, they could have just produced a creature on turn 1, right? So they just would have went land, Dark Ritual, Cabal Therapy, Self, Animate Dead, get Grizzlebrand, herpa derpa 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 derp. I could produce a turn 1 Chalice with this hand, but I don't really know that that's good enough considering the rest of the hand does nothing. I'd much, much, much rather have a Leyline start. Again, I don't really think this hand does anything, and it's worse than the first hand. This is an amazing hand. Keep. Alright, so I have to put 2 of these back. So my turn 1 is Leyline. Oh, I definitely thought this was a Soul Land. This hand is a little worse than I thought. Alright, that's going back. And I don't think we're a Scroll of Fate hand. That's going back. Opponent reveals Chancellor. Sure. I reveal Leyline of the Void. Hoping to draw a Soul Land. Okay, so on turn 2, I can play Uncounterable Eldrazi Mimic. I could play Chalice on 0 right now. It might just be better to play Chalice on... So one way or another, I need to clear this Chancellor trigger, and I can do it either with Eldrazi Mimic on turn 2, or with Chalice on 0 this turn. If I assume that I can play this one slowly, it's better to just clear it next turn. The Chalice does not do a ton. And if I save the Chalice, I can also open myself up to like some lines where I clear it and do a different 2-drop play. Oh, a Tear. Okay. That's obviously quite good. So I know they have at least Chancellor in hand. Alright, they just have Chancellor. So this turn is really interesting. I can just double Wasteland them. They pitched a Reanimate, so that tells me that they have some other discard, or sorry, they have some other reanimation spell. They don't necessarily have another land. The question is, like, if they have a second Reanimate, should I just play Eldrazi Mimic this turn? Because they would Reanimate, take 7 damage, go to 12. I would play Dreadnought on my turn, and then be threatening lethal if they don't block. Too much thinking, just Wasteland them twice, hope for the best. The double Wasteland line is very good if I spike a Soul Land. So part of me almost wants to play Chalice on 0 now. I'm not going to, but it's real tempting. Alright, so we needed to play this to clear the Chancellor trigger from the beginning of the game. So next turn I do get to hit them for 12. I'm again not going to play Chalice on 0, but it's real tempting. Actually, I'm not going to play Dreadnought this turn and 12 them. I'm going to 24 them next turn. Now I will Chalice on 0 to stop Lotus Petal from being an effective draw. We killed him in one turn. 24 damage in one turn. Top tier legacy deck, for sure. I feel kind of like I'm sort of like swinging back and forth from both ends of the spectrum while playing this deck. Like when things go wrong with this deck, like you're miserable, cards don't do anything, and then things go right and you're like, haha, I did it. Definitely a deck of the people here. So I'm on the play. This hand has Eldrazi Mimic into Dreadnought for 12 damage, but then doesn't do anything else. But with one land, it's very good. I think I have to. I think this is a super reluctant keep because against something fair, I'll have time to draw into this, and against something unfair, the potential of like just dealing 12 damage on turn 2 shuts off a lot of lines. I think I have to keep this one. Yeah, just like Ponder or something. Let me hit you for 12. So we might be facing off against Ant here. In which case, our goldfish speed is incredible. Bottom with preordain. Yeah, good old 12 to the face. Opponent considering what decisions in their life led them to this point. Oh, man. We're playing against some sort of mid-rangey control deck, probably in 3 to 5 colors. God, timer goes to 5-6 already? That doesn't seem very fair. I do think we're pretty okay if we hit land. Not great, but okay. We get to buy a lot of time with these Matter Root Shapers. Not that much time. Alright, so we're playing against some sort of multicolor deck. We're going to start with our original board strategy of get these 8 cards out of my deck. Then we'll bring in 8 cards chosen at random. How about Chalice, Thorns, and 3 Boom Piles? I would like to play first. His hand is nothing. This hand also does nothing? Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, Malamuja, this deck is something. Alright. We'll keep 4 of these. I guess it's pitch one of these, pitch one of these, pitch one of these. Yeah, so we can either Warping Wail them or we can Boom Pile them and every other card. Boom Pile. No, I mean we're just going to mull into oblivion with this hand and lose that way, and that's okay. We'll pretend to play Magic. Ugh. So my opponent is playing Preordain in what otherwise looks like a Delver deck. They had like Drown in the lock last time around. Okay. So my opponent's hand doesn't actually do anything right now? They can't double bolt the Dreadnought here? There's hope this game, which is not something that I expected to say. Like, they can Lightning Bolt to Walking Ballista and trade a card for 2 life. Totally fine with that. This eliminates a future line of double bolting my Dreadnoughts here. So, like, again, I'm perfectly happy with that. No Goyf? Well, that's not Goyf. That's my win condition. That's my win condition. Eddie, we're winning. I believe that is what it is called. So Force pitches Force. And notably, that costs my opponent a life. So we play the Manifest stuff so that we can go and flip our Dreadnoughts face up. Or cheat Mirror Superior into play. We can also Aether Vial that, which is a thing that can occur. Yeah, we have Vial too. Okay, so if I attack with this Thought-Knot Seer and Fairy Rogue blocks, then Lightning Bolt is a problem. Or I can just play around Lightning Bolt by Dust Bowling my opponent's land. Now this allows me to actually attack with the Thought-Knots here. And now we just need to survive for 7 turns. I really need this Delver to not flip. That would be grand. Nice. Good job, Delver. Alright, I don't think it's worth playing Lightning Greaves. It costs me 2 damage. And every point of damage is super relevant since my opponent has Lightning Bolt in hand. Alright, everything I just said was stupid. So I should have played the Lightning Greaves pre-combat to play around that exact thing. I just, like, I wastelanded you off of that. You don't have it anymore. And then I just derped on the fetch. But it might end up working out. Boom pile. Boom pile does not get Abrupt Decay. It does get Force of Will, though. So I'm going to take 4 damage, and then I can't cast a Boom Pile next turn. That's unfortunate. Come on, City of Traders off the top. Oh, we're going to die casting another Boom Pile. That's the way I'm going out here. All right. We went 2 and 3 with that pile. And boy, I am never playing this deck again. All right. So, problems with the deck. These 8 cards are terrible. Like, I boarded them out pretty much every match. Like, your vials are extremely slow, and they don't work towards you, like, getting your opponent. So I don't think that's really worth doing. So, if I was to... Like, the Scroll of Fate, Dreadnought, Eldrazi Mimic, that stuff, like, that was all fine. But it kind of just felt like we were playing a worse Eldrazi deck in many ways. And, like, similarly, these main deck Spyglasses are super weird. And I feel like you could do better with this shell. Like, the Scroll of Fate idea is totally, totally fine. But I think you need some other way to abuse the Dreadnoughts and then play the 4th Dreadnought too. Like, whether it's Stifle or one of the, like, white effects that stops ETB triggers from entering. Like, I feel like you need to commit more to this plan. Because Mir Superion and Dreadnought clunking up my hand were just rough. So, like, isn't there, like, a blue-black guy that lets you copy stuff from your graveyard? I forget what his name is. I think it's, like, a blue-black legendary creature or something like that. Like, you could couple it with that sort of stuff, where, like, you can cast it early as sort of a pump spell and then, like, rebuy it later or something like that. But yeah, this deck just felt too clunky as is. Yes, thank you. Lazav the Multifarious. I believe that is correct. So I played against someone playing like a Dreadnought Stifle Delver list at a GP a while back, I think it was. And like that sort of thing has, I guess, potential. I guess it's fine to say that it has potential. I don't know if you're going to end up being like too clunky if you're like trying to go like Mimic in that shell. But if you want to play around with Dreadnought, I don't think this is your starting point. I think you need to try and do something else. Folks, I hope you enjoyed tonight. And if you were coming from the raid or if you haven't been on this channel before, please follow if you enjoy Legacy content. That's pretty much all that I do here on this channel. And if you're really enjoying my content, please do something to support it, whether it's just a simple follow or doing a donation deck list or helping to support daily D&T or something like that. I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to turn you over to my friend Goblin Lackey, who is streaming some goblins. Have a great rest of the night, everyone.